Thank you. I'm happy to be here in this day. First of all, I want to say a few words about Mordechai Banun, who spoke here just before me. I've known him quite a lot of years, and I've known of him a lot of years before when he was in prison, and it was not possible to communicate with him directly, but I heard quite a lot of him already then. And I think you should all be aware that by being here and speaking to you, he was taking a big risk, because there was put on him a very arbitrary order that he is not allowed to speak to foreigners. And there was already one time when the police arrested him for the crime of being in one room and talking for several hours with a Norwegian woman who happened to be his girlfriend. So all the more when he came here and spoke to a whole room full of foreigners. But he's a daring, free spirit who has been challenging the Israeli authorities for very many years. He would not be who he is if he was not like that, and I'm happy to see that he has not yet lost his free spirit after all these years. So I want to say also I'm here in the conference organized by a religious organization, and the speaker who stood here before me was speaking very much in a Christian way. I am not a religious believer. I cannot speak as a religious believer of any religion. I can say I have very much respect for religion. I think it is one of the most important of human institutions, perhaps the most important human institution in all human culture since prehistoric times. And I think religion is a force which can bring out either the best or the worst out of people. I think that a person who wants to do good things, to do charity, to help fellow human beings, to make justice, to make the world better, can do this better, can do this more strong, more forceful, if he or she believes that this is what God wants. And that gives strength in difficult times. Unfortunately, also a person who wants to do bad things, to enslave other people, to kill other people, to take away the land of other people, who is also more strong, more fierce, more determined when he or she feels that this is what God wants him to do. And you can have the example of both in, I think, in all the religions of the world. It is the question of how do you choose to interpret the religion in which you believe. And I'm happy to be here among people who give the best interpretation of Christianity, not the worst. And unfortunately, in history, there were quite a lot of Christians who gave very bad interpretation to Christianity, and some of them were directing their bad interpretation of Christianity towards Jews in all parts of history. Fortunately, I think Christianity has taken a step to the best in the last 100 years or so, at least very many of the practitioners of Christianity. About Jewish extremism, there is a subject here which I'm not very happy exactly with this formulation, but it is a fact, a very unfortunate and sad fact, that the majority of believers of the Jewish religion in Israel today, and of their religious leaders, their rabbis, are taking the worst possible interpretation of the Jewish religion, are finding ways to interpret the Jewish religion in racist, nationalistic, xenophobic form in all kind of ways, and it is a very sad fact. I don't give up on the Jewish religion in it. I think that we have some people, some religious people, religious Jews, who are among the very best people which the Israeli peace movement have, rabbis who are working very hard for human rights, who are being ready to be arrested, to work really day and night for it. But unfortunately, as things now stand, they are the minority among religious Jews in Israel. And I hope it will take turn for the better. As I said, I think every religion, and the Jewish religion included, can be interpreted either in a good way or in a bad way. It is a question of what you choose to quote from your scriptures and what interpretation you want to give to this what you quote. And I want to quote something which I always find very inspiring from the Talmud, also when I'm not interpreting it as a religious command. It is said, it is not up to you to finish the job, but that doesn't mean you can avoid doing your part. I feel that is something which was written by religious people who were taking the religion seriously, who at that time were giving quite a positive interpretation for this religion, and I take it as inspiration for my own work. And Rabbi Asherman, who came here, is one of the people about whom I spoke who are giving the best interpretation to the Jewish religion. I'm sure he will be able to speak more authoritatively about religious matters than me. Anyway, I want to speak about myself and my work, and I was asked to speak about a way forward, and I must say that is a difficult subject to speak of nowadays in Israel. I think in the world in general, but in Israel especially. My friends call me an incurable optimist, but I must say it is even for me difficult to be optimistic in this time. I think that doesn't come to a surprise to any of you. I will try nevertheless to find some optimistic words to say and to point out some possible way forward in this difficult situation in which we all find ourselves. I'll say a few words about myself. I'm Adam Keller. I was born in Tel Aviv 61 years ago. I've been involved in peace activity of one kind or another since I was a high school pupil, which when you see how much hair I have on my head, you will realize it was a long time ago. And I'm now involved in Gush Shalom, which is a grassroots peace organization active since 1992. But in fact, I was involved in all kinds of earlier organizations, movements, action committees, student organizations, political parties, which grew out of each other and succeeded each other and united with each other and sometimes split off from each other. And I could have given at least an hour of describing the whole organizational history, but that is not the most important thing. The important thing is that all the organizations in which I was involved since the third year of the occupation, and now we are in the 50th year of the occupation, had essentially the same program which said that there are two peoples in this land, the Jewish Israelis and the Arab Palestinians. Both of these peoples are very attached to this land. Both of these people have a very, very strong national narrative which explains why the land is theirs and which can be interpreted as excluding the narrative of the other. We try to interpret it in a way which does not exclude the Palestinian, the Israeli narrative should not exclude the Palestinian narrative and the other way around. That these two peoples should have each one its own national rights in this land, and the practical application, which all the organizations in which I was involved since 1969, is that there should be two states, State of Israel and State of Palestine, the State of Israel in its 1967 borders, State of Palestine in the West Bank and Gaza Strip, and Jerusalem should be the capital of both states. That is the idea which we have been working for since we, meaning me and quite a lot of others. Some people like Uri Avneri, I don't know how many of you heard of him. He's been active even much longer than I have. Been active, in fact, even before there was a state of Israel. Already then he was involved in some organizations which were trying to promote peace between Jews and Arabs in this land, and he's now been a member of the Israeli parliament. He's been an activist in all kinds of ways. He's now 93 years old and still very active with energy, more than people half of his age. Anyway, I will try to give a short review of how things came to where we are, and what way forward I can still try to think of in this difficult situation. I can divide the period of activity of myself and of the peace movement in Israel in which I was involved into two periods, which with the watershed, the year 2000. Exactly, neat numerical place for no watershed. I would say until 2000, we had the feeling that we were going up, that we were breaking through gradually. We were making gains. We were getting the Israeli society gradually, with small steps, with very many setbacks, but the general movement was forward. And I can give quite a few examples. For example, when I started to be active, the Prime Minister of Israel was Golda Meir, and her position was that there is no such thing as Palestinian people, that is just an invention. Now I think only very, very lunatic fringe groups on the extreme right of Israeli politics would still say that there are no Palestinians. Even people who very much hate the Palestinians and would have liked them not to be there have to concede that they are there and they are a people. The idea of a Palestinian state was, when I started, it was a very much a minority position in Israel. It was also quite a minority position worldwide, not yet accepted by the international community. Now it is taken as the standard solution by the international community, and even Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, at least pays lip service to wanting this solution. I very much doubt his sincerity, but the fact that he feels the need to make lip service to it is interesting and significant in itself. When I started to be active, and for very many years of my activity, the PLO was considered in Israel as a terrorist organization with whom there can never be any kind of contact and any kind of negotiations. Yitzhak Rabin, actually, the man who in the end made peace and tried to make peace with the PLO and paid with his life for it, in the first time when he was Prime Minister between 74 and 77, said, "We will meet the PLO only on the battlefield." He changed his mind, fortunately and unfortunately did not live to complete what he started. But that was his position, and that was a position of the Israeli political establishment for many years. It changed completely, and there was even a time when it was a crime in the Israeli Book of Law to meet a member of the PLO, to shake the hand of a member of the PLO. There was an activist, was a dear friend of many of us, unfortunately not with us anymore, Abi Natan, who had spent several times periods of imprisonment for the crime of going to Tunis and meeting with Yasser Arafat and shaking his hand. And it did not deter him. I remember he was interrogated by police for this crime of meeting with a terrorist organization, and he said, "Yes, for sure I admit it, and do you want more evidence? Here are photos, here are recordings of my meeting with Yasser Arafat. Do you want more evidence? I will give you even more evidence. And then he got half a year in prison, and he spent the half a year, and we were, of course, all the time demonstrating in front of the prison to support him. And then he came out of prison, and he spent 3 days resting in his home. And then he went back to Tunis and met again with Arafat, and then came back and again to prison. And afterwards, and unfortunately he's not with us anymore, I think he would have been very, very fitting for this conference if he was still alive. And when afterwards, when we saw Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin and Arafat shaking hands, then we thought that was his vindication. So there was a time when PLO was a terrorist organization, where meeting with the PLO was a crime, and then there was a time when the government of Israel was officially negotiating with the PLO. There was a time when peace activists in Israel, when I started, felt that we are small, we are a few, when we could get a few hundred people on a demonstration, that is a big achievement. And then in the late 70s, in the 80s, in the 90s, there came a time when peace movement could make big rallies of tens of thousands, sometimes even hundreds of thousands. Like after the massacre in Sabra and Shatila, we got the biggest demonstration in the history of Israel, which was estimated at 400,000 people, and some people say that it was exaggerated, but certainly it was in hundreds of thousands. There was a time when it was completely taken for granted in the Israeli society that in time of war you don't demonstrate, you don't express any kind of political dissent. When there is fighting going on, then you keep silent and you support the soldiers, and you wait until the war is over to express again your political view. And in 1982, when there was the Lebanon war, the peace movement, succeeded to break this rule, and there were demonstrations against the war while the war was going on, and we succeeded to make a war which started as a very popular war by a very charismatic general called Ariel Sharon into a very unpopular war, and in the end we succeeded very much by grassroots action of mothers of soldiers to get the Israeli army out of Lebanon. And there was a time when the Israeli army was a kind of a completely taboo subject. The possibility of refusing military service or refusing military orders when you are a soldier was almost unheard of. Perhaps there was one conscientious objector, one single one every few years, and that was such a big exception. And then again there was started a mass refusal movement of hundreds and then thousands of people signing petitions and saying, I refuse to be occupier, I refuse to be oppressor, I refuse to serve in occupied territories, or I refuse to join the army altogether. And I was myself several times in military prison, and Shachar, who is here, could speak about it very, very much in detail. So all these things we broke through. We were like climbing a mountain, and with very much difficulty. Every step was a difficult step, and where there were sometimes difficulties, sometimes setbacks, but still the feeling was that we were going up. We were approaching the peak. And one more thing which is very important, there was a long time in Israel the complete consensus that Jerusalem must be, whole of Jerusalem is Israeli, united Jerusalem, the eternal capital of Israel. There was a long time when any mainstream Israeli politician had to repeat this slogan, otherwise he would be booted out. And it's not anymore like that. There is a dispute about Jerusalem. Some, at least people quite deep in the political establishment, say that there is no reason for Israel to keep the Arab parts of West Jerusalem. So that is the achievements, but then I have to make sure to be short, so I try to get to the, where did these things go wrong? I think I can point a very, very exact point. The year, August 2000, when there was the conference in Camp David, where Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak, who got completely undeserved credit as a peace-seeking Prime Minister, spent several weeks with Arafat and said, I tried to make peace, but it's not possible because I made very generous offers and the Palestinians rejected them, so there is no partner. And then immediately afterwards there was the second intifada, and then it is the Israelis came to the conclusion that peace is not possible because the Palestinians don't want peace. And of course, Palestinians have exactly the same feeling on the other direction. The Israelis say, we try to make peace with the Palestinians, and then came the worst terrorist attacks than ever before. Palestinians say, we try to make peace with the Israelis, and then the occupation became more harsh than ever before, the settlements became bigger than ever before. So you can, I think if you talk with an ordinary Israeli in Tel Aviv or with ordinary Palestinian in Ramallah, they would both say essentially the same. We try to make peace with them. We made so many concessions, so many compromises, but we found that they don't want to make peace with us. They just want to kill us and take our land. That is what the Israeli and the Palestinian would both say, only with difference who is we and who is they. So then we came to the conclusion that it is very difficult to come to get a peace, the best kind of peace, the peace which comes from the grassroots of the society itself. There was a chance for it in 1993, after Rabin and Arafat shook hands. There was a very big groundswell of support for peace in both Israeli and Palestinian society, but it was missed, and I don't have time to talk about why it was missed. We came then very, very much to the conclusion that the impulse must come from the outside, and we were very much hoping for international pressure. There was very much hope from Obama when Obama was elected. And I must say, we were very much disappointed with Obama. He could have done more, in our view, if what he did in the last months of his second term, letting the United Nations Security Council take a resolution against settlements, if he would have done that not as a lame duck at the very last moment, but in the first months of his first term, we might have been now in a very difficult situation, but he didn't. And now, of course, we have Trump, and I don't need, I think, to talk very much about Trump, but to expect something good of Trump is really stretching the impossible. But still, I have to say, there was the press conference of Netanyahu and Trump, and there Trump said something like, I don't mind one state, two state, whatever you and the Palestinians agree about, then it will be okay with me. And of course, when the President of the United States says to Israel, yeah, just agree with the Palestinians, that is like coming to the wolf and the sheep and saying, okay, you wolf and sheep make arrangements among yourself, and I will accept whatever you decide. But still, I want to point, and that is when I have to look for a way forward in this very difficult situation. The fact is that when Trump said one state, two states, doesn't matter, it was alarming for quite a few people on the Israeli right wing. Because if there is one thing which is frightening Israelis, and especially right-wing Israelis more than anybody else, is the idea that Palestinians will one moment ask for say, we don't want a state anymore, okay, you don't want to give us a state, just give us Israeli citizenship, equal rights, one person, one vote, like South Africa. I think very many people, and especially the Israeli people on the Israeli right wing, think of this as the worst possible nightmare. So when I try to think of a way forward in this very difficult situation where we are, I would say the best which I can think of is if Palestinians would really realize this nightmare and say to Israel, okay, just give us equal rights, I don't expect that they will get their equal rights, but I do expect that they just might frighten the Israelis into say, okay, we don't want to give you equal rights, but we give you a state and we go out. Just don't anymore ask for equal rights. Okay, so that I hope I finished in time. I just wanted to say there is outside here on the table some material which I brought. This is our brochure, Truth Against Truth, which is trying to give a view of the history of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict from its beginning. There is our symbol, the two flags, the Israeli and the Palestinian flags, which, by the way, once upon a time, you could have gotten arrested by the police for having this flag, because this symbol, because it is a flag of a terrorist organization. Fortunately, the Israeli police does not do that anymore, but anyway, it is available on the table outside. And we have just one last thing. We, Gush Shalom, have an international mailing list where we send out messages every week. Anybody who wants to be on this list, just come to me and give me your emails. Okay.